This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Bruchim Aboim, to everyone who came in person, and to everyone who's joining us in person in the Viber Shul, and everyone who's joining on the phone and watching. Bruchim Aboim to everyone. I'd like to give a shikach to Mr. A.B. Spry for sponsoring tonight's shir. I'd like to give a shikach to Mishpachas Ran for the support of tonight's shir. Nishmas Chedva Fradel, Basra Bavrom David, Olav Shalom, whose Eretz is tonight, Shavasa Batamuz, and the Nishmas of Moshe ben Elazar, Olav Shalom. Also, I'd like to give a shikach to Mr. and Mrs. Yisroel Fisher for their sponsoring tonight's shir. The Nishmas Basti Bas Robert Olav Shalom, the Eretz was Yud Dal Tamuz, and Halva Mechaim Mechaim L'chvoid Harav Moshe Mewai Shlita. Tonight we have the cover to have with us once again Harav Moshe Mewai Shlita, Rav Agudas Yisroel, Beizev Fairways in Lakewood, and they ask the Rabbi question and answer for him. All the shilas have been pre-submitted and will be asked by the moderator, Rabbi Yisroel Fisher. It's my cover to call on Rav Weiss for tonight's shir.
Do you know the internet code here? Huh? I know, but this is something that people are watching live on. Let's see if we can get it. If not, we won't. Okay, I have it now. I mean, it's going now. All right, Rabbi Say, first of all, I want to say, Miksa Shvachai B'fanav. I want to thank Rabbi Bald for making Irgun Shiurei Torah what it is today. Today, it's Es Asher Yeshnu Po, the Es Asher Einenu Po. People are watching us all over. They're listening to us all over. They're watching us and listening to us today, and they're watching us and listening to us next week, next year, and the next 5 years. I want to thank all of you that come personally. It should not be taken lightly. A Maggid Shir, if he wouldn't have an Olam, he could sit in a studio. But there is a great value. First of all, it says, there is an energy, there is a power of persuasion, of impact, when you see the Rebbe live. So although it might be easier not to have to look for parking, it might be more comfortable to sit in your easy chair and look at it on your laptop, but it's a very worthwhile thing to come live to Shiurim. Welcome to the women that are joining us. I want to thank Rabbi Deutsch, who sits and mans the shir and makes it a reality every night. I want to thank my dear Talmud, Rabbi Yisroel Fisher, who is the third member of my Talmidim to take this post of Shoyel. First was Yossi Tov, then Sheldon Zeitlin, who had a wedding tonight, and now my dear Talmud, Rabbi Yisroel Fisher, who listens to my Daf Yomi and my Mishnayos. He's a big sponsor of my Mishnayos. So Rabbi Yisroel, take it away.
We live in a fast-paced world. As the Rav always quotes Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch, the world is called Eretz because everyone is always in a state of ruts, of running. With all these daily distractions, how can I stay focused on Hashem? Furthermore, since I don't see Hashem, how can I keep Him on my mind?
You know, it's interesting when Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch said that the world was called Eretz because it ruts, everybody was running. That was before the cell phone. It was a different world. He didn't even know what running was. It was before emails. It was before texts. It was a world that was sedate compared to today's day and age. Today, even people that are retired, I am a Rav now in a retirement community. Even people that are retired tell me, I don't have any time. I don't have time. And actually, the Mesilas Yesharim says that this is one of the Yetzer Hara's greatest weapons. The Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto says that the paro is a symbol of the Yetzer Hara. And he says you could learn from paro on a level to study the machinations of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination. And he says one of the biggest ones is what Paro said, Tichbad ha'avoida al ha'anoshim val yishu b'divrei shaker. Let them work harder so they shouldn't turn to this nonsense. They want to go to the midbar for 3 days and serve God. They have time on their hands to think of God. I'm not giving them straw. And this is the way the Yetzer Hara makes us so busy with so much of the minutiae of life that we don't have time to think about Hashem. It's a very big problem. And on top of that, it says, Milsa Doloiramya ale de inshe lavadate. We don't see Hashem in our daily course of life. And because of that, it's easy, you know, people forget about their elderly parents because they don't see them. Hashem? Hashem is if they're not confronted by it, how are they supposed to think about Hashem? And the truth of the matter is thinking about Hashem is the single most important success of life. Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, Mo Hashem shoyel me'imach kiyim liyira. What does Hashem ask from you but that you should see Him? That's life. Hein yiras Hashem hi chachma. Shakal bara lichvaydai. That's life. So, we have to do something about it, that we should focus more on Hashem. Actually, the answer is in the pasuk itself. Gemara Menachos says, "Ma Hashem alikecha shoyel me'ima kiyam liyira al tikrei mo'el ameya." The 100 brachas that we make during the day is to get us to focus on Hashem. That's its purpose, so that wherever we turn, Sha'akol niya bidvaro, asher yotzer es adam b'chachma, shelo yasani gai, baruch atah Hashem yotzer ha'ma'oros. Every shnit and trit, we're supposed to think about Hashem all the time through our brachas. That's the purpose of brachas. That's why it says, Al tikrei ma elameya. The way to achieve thinking about Hashem is to make brachas. Another way to think about Hashem is through davening the three tefillas with the eye that we're meeting Hashem. I've said this over before, that Rav Scheinberger in Eretz Yisroel, Scheinberger, Pinchas Scheinberg, he was very makpid to daven in the yeshiva minyan. But when the kollel changed because of their schedule to daven mincha later on in the day, right before Shkia, he opted to daven in the shtibel. And everybody was shocked. He was so makbid, yeshiva minyan. He would talk about the yeshiva minyan, davening where you're learning and the special aura of a yeshiva sheminyan, and he davened at mincha gedayla in a shtibel. Finally, somebody asked him, and he said, I can't wait till late in the afternoon to see Hashem. I see Hashem in the morning. I should wait all the way till it's almost night to see him again. I'm used to seeing him in the middle of the day. I can't wait that long to see Hashem. A person who davens and has a feeling that I'm seeing Hashem, that's the idea of taking the 3 steps forward, bowing down. I'm seeing Hashem. I'm meeting with Hashem. When Yaakov had the dream of the ladder, we know that the ladder, Sulam, is B'gematria Kel. The Zayar says that the malachim that were going up are the malachim created by our tefillah, and the malachim that came down are the malachim carrying out our requests. The idea of a ladder is connectivity. How do we connect with Hashem? By davening. Now, of course, there are a lot of other ways. You see, we have mitzvahs, Baruch Hashem, 613 mitzvahs, which are broken into 3 categories. Mishpatim, Chukim, and Edus. The Mishpatim, the laws, are those that govern how we coexist with each other. Not to hate somebody, not to take revenge, not to bear a grudge, not to desire what's not yours, not to make a pit, not to make a fire. Right? All the laws of Jewish jurisprudence. That's the mishpatim. The chukim are those laws that we do even though we don't understand. Not eating meat and milk, not mixing wool and linen, the egla rufa, when we break the heifer's neck in the case of an unsolved homicide, the paraduma, when we burn its ashes, a red cow, in order to have purification. There's a whole classification of chukim. And then there's a category called edus, which today we translate as testimonials. Edus is the same letters as deus. Because the idea of the edus is to give us deus, is to give us knowledge. And the knowledge is to recognize Hashem. And therefore, a premier example of an edus, which is for both men and women, is a mezuzah. The mezuzah is supposed to remind us in our hectic, frantic pace of life. We walk into the room, Hashem is in the room. We notice the mezuzah. We walk into the dining room. Let's not forget about Hashem. We walk into the bedroom. Oh, the mezuzah in the bedroom is so important. Let's not forget Hashem is with us. When a person lives that way, that Hashem says, I want such people on my world. I want people on my planet. I want people. So the mezuzah is a very important way to stay focused on Hashem. Now, One of the biggest edus is Shabbos Kodesh. You have a Shabbos, and we should think. You see a pen, I can't touch that pen. It's muktzah. You mean I can't touch my phone? I can't open the light. Oh, it's hot. I can't open the air conditioner. Oh, I have a boss. I have a boss. That's Shabbos. Shabbos is reminding us about Hashem. We talk about this with our family. That's how to stay focused. Now, since this is really the most important purpose of life, this is really everything. Like Moshe Rabbeinu says, right? Rosh Shlomo HaMelech say, he says that when everything is tabulated, what's a kol ha'adam? Right? Es elikim yirah. Ves mitzvahs shmor ki zeh kol ha'adam. So if you want to get really good at this, if you want to make your life really superior, then buy some of Rav Miller's books, Svarim. Because Rav Miller was all about Yiras Hashem. It's not outdated to buy Sing Your Righteous, to buy Awake My Glory. Even if you read it when you were wrong, you read it again. It's suffused with Yiras Shamayim. You wanna become a PhD? You want to become a PhD in Yiras Shamayim? I'm not in advertising. I don't get any kickback from this. I'm telling you, get an iPod with the Shiurim of Rav Miller and start listening. I remember in the 70s, Rav Miller said anybody that listened to 100 of his Shiurim could consider himself an idealist. I was very proud that in the 70s I was an idealist. You listen to Shiurim of Miller, it'll change your life. You'll become a Yiras Shamayim. Next question.
For many people, the shidduch crisis has become so desperate that women are asking shilos about freezing eggs to prolong their reproductive abilities. Can the Rav give advice for Shidduchin?
It's true. It's a desperate situation. I get calls from girls that are worried. They want to have children. They're cresting 40. I know families where there are 4 or 5 girls backing up without Shidduchin. We have a real crisis. It seems to be that the middle class is having a lot of problems. Those people that can afford to give the support that's being asked, so they get a stream of Shidduchin. The middle class that can't afford to even pay their own mortgage and are struggling to just help their children afford to get dressed for the dates, they're not getting Shidduchim. This is a problem. And I'm not Houdini, and I heard from people that this was always a problem. I talked to the Krula Rebbe. Krula Rebbe is the Spinker Rebbe's son. I have the Schia to be together nearby. I go to Elm Shade Estate, so he's right nearby, so I daven with him in the morning. So I talked to him always after davening, and I told him I was coming here, and I told him that every year this question comes up. Help! So he told me over from his father, his heilige father, Reb Hershel Mespinka. I met him. I had the schir to meet him once. I went with my shir, my daf yomi years ago, on a Thursday night shovivim to say Tillim after Chatzos. He's one of the people that I was zeichet to see who had a shine on his face. I saw it by Ramosha. I saw it by the Friedrich Klosem Rebbe. I saw it by the Heilige Baba Rebbe, Reb Shlomo. And I saw it by Reb Hershel. I remember Reb Hershel. So he said that everybody has to make constant hishtadlus. He says, people tell him, well you know, Zivig is bashert, everybody has a Zivig. So he says, do you go to work? Everybody has mezainos of Ketuvim. Of course you go to work. Of course you do a shtal. Nobody's sitting home and saying, Panasis from God. He says, just like you go to work and you do it regularly, you got to make regular ishtadlus. So he told me that a chassid told his father, I don't have people, I don't have friends, I don't have. What am I supposed to do? So he says, you have shchenim? He says, yeah. So in the morning, every morning you see your shachan. It's a true story. Every morning you see your shachan. Good morning. By the way, I want to remind you, I have a tochter, a sheina meidala. He says, he told this to this man, and he ended up making a shidduch with his neighbor. It's not always going to work that way. But I have to tell you that I married off 4 daughters. Who wants a Rav's daughter? In today's day and age, a Rav's daughter has 2 strikes against him. First of all, he can't support the kind of support that the boys are expecting. And second of all, he might tell you what to do. He's a Rav. Who wants that? Meshuggah God. So Reb Ruben Feinstein used to tell me, you know, you have an office, and people come and they talk to you. Put a picture of you and your current daughter that's dating. Put it there. Now, I will tell you, to drive home this point, because there are people that they're still living in the past. My daughter is a tachshit. I should have to do things. My daughter. You're living in Middle Ages. Doesn't work that way anymore. So I'll tell you that there was my second oldest daughter, Devora. She wasn't getting many shidduchin. So we were up in the mountains. At that time we were going to Sun Circle bungalows. And a woman who had a very big house opened up her home for 13 shadchanim. She invited and she paid 13 shadchanim. And she said the mothers should come with pictures of their daughters and speak to the shadchan. So my Rebbetzin said, what, am I proud? I have a great daughter. She went with a picture and she spoke to all 13 shadchanim. That's a big job. And one of them said, you know, the way you're describing your daughter, I have a boy in Denver that really matches. And that's Baruch Hashem, now 5 children later, our wonderful son-in-law David Rosenberg, came because my wife went and showed and spoke to 13 Shadchanim. We need to make hishtadlus. And we need to make regular hishtadlus. And if one shadchan is not working, then you move on to another shadchan. And if one community is not working, you move on to a shadchan from another community. But regular hishtadlus has to be done. Of course, and this can't be there's many questions. Of course, if a person could widen their area of Shidduchin, well, I wanted somebody that was going to live only in Flatbush. Or I only wanted to live in Lakewood. Or I only wanted that he should be tall. Or she should be blonde. Or he should be athletic. The more broad our choices, the better chance we have. And people have to reevaluate that. Also, don't make the mistake to want someone that you want. Want someone that's good for your child. It's a big mistake people make. No, that's not, nothing wrong, but that's not for us. That's not for us, or that's not for her. Or that's not for him. People need a lot of help in this. There are some children that need a closer. But maybe this, I'm waiting all this time, maybe there's something better. They need a closer. So there's a lot of things. A wealthy family can take a child not from a wealthy family. It's not min v'she'ein mina. I had that also. Such an experience where one of my daughters, I had a school friend who I met his son, and he seemed to be a very nice boy. So I went ahead and I called up my friend and asked him that we should eat out, go to a coffee shop. I said, I met your son. He's a very nice boy. I have a very nice daughter. I knew your parents. You know my parents. I showed him a picture of my daughter. And he said, it's an interesting idea. Oh, no, it won't work. I said, why? He says, you're a rabbi. You don't have money to support. I said, but you're a very wealthy man. So he says, it's true, but my son deserves the support. This is a true story. So a wealthy family can take a child from even a low-income family, with the humility of a low-income family. It can work. It doesn't help to rail against the system. The system is the system. It doesn't help. I learned that already. This doesn't help. You have to deal with the system. Maybe there'll become a time where the system will change. It happens in Klal Yisrael. But right now, the system is the system. So if a girl is taka single for 6-7 years, and she saved up a pretty penny because she didn't need she was working, and she has money, so she could give it to her father and say support. That's also a plan. And a wealthy person who doesn't want to support because he doesn't hold of it, so his daughter is remaining single. I know this also. He's remaining single because he doesn't hold of the whole support business. The Nebuch, his poor daughter, is a carbon because he's an opinionated person. So all of these things have to be considered. I just want to tell you another story from the Spinker Rebbe. I didn't plan on spending so much time on this question. It's, of course, a very important question. The Spinker Rebbe told me that the Kruller Rebbe told me his father, Reb Herschel, at a Heilige Spinker Rebbe, Zech Tzadik Levrachas Chus Yagen Aleinu, he held that helping people with Shidduchin is from the highest mitzvahs of life. He told me a story that his father used to daven for the Amid all the tefillas in Yom Kippur, Kol Nidrei, Shachris, Musaf. He davened all the tefillas. So Erev Yom Kippur, he used to go in to take a 45-minute nap so that he should be able to get through Yom Kippur. The Rebbe went in to take his nap, and a man comes to the house 5 minutes after he goes into the bedroom that there's a shidduch involved and he needs advice from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, please, I know you came from far, but the Rebbe just went to lay down. So he said, no, okay, so they'll wait till after Yom Kippur. And the Rebbetzin knew her husband and knew he wouldn't be pleased with this. So Beles Breira, she went into the bedroom and she woke him up. And he said, no, send him in. Send him in, Achana for Yom Kippur, send him into the bedroom. He spoke to him for 15 minutes and he gave him Eitzah and the Shidduch went through. The Spinker Rebbe told the Kruller Rebbe, his son, who knows if for this Mesiris Nefesh on Erev Yom Kippur, who knows if this is the reason I came down to the world? Imagine a Rebbe with all he does for all these people. This is what he said. That's how important it is to give reports about people that call you up about Shidduchin. To say, let me think about, maybe I could think about somebody for this person. If everybody would take it to heart, there would be much more Shidduchim being made. Next question.
Sadly, the war in Eretz Yisroel is now over 7 months old. The two Kapitulach Tehillim that many of us say after davening is becoming robotic. What more can we do for the terrible matzav in Eretz Yisroel?
Yeah, it's, in my shul, we say 2 Shah Malices, and you could see that it's already becoming like by rote. People are already halfway out the door, and it's one of the 48 Kinyonei Torah to really be able to acquire the Torah. One of the necessary midos is no say ba'olim chaverai, to feel other people's situations. When a siren goes off in Tel Aviv and the Iron Dome and the David slingshot is activated, sometimes 1 million people go down to a bunker at 2 o'clock in the morning. If we would stop to think what that means people who took Ambience or Balsamra and were in deep sleeps had to be shaken up and then walk down rickety stone steps when they're half asleep. We're talking about older people. We're talking about mothers shepherding down 6, 7, 10, 13 children to bunkers. 1 million people! A person has to take this to heart. And then, when we say in Mariv, Hashkivenu Hashem Elokeinu L'Shalom. Now then also, there's missiles being shot. The Iron Dome doesn't stop them all. There are drones coming in. Person goes to sleep, are they going to wake up? Amidenu L'Chaim. Person has to say this now with the gefühl. They asked Reb David Feinstein, Zech Tzadik L'Bracha, Schusi Irgun Aleinu, by the last war, what should people do? And he said Mondays and Thursdays when we say V'hu Racham, and in there we say, Hashem, please have Rachmanis on our land. And please, Hashem, save us from Gezeira Ra, from Maves. Ona Hashem Atzlichana, Ona Hashem Aishiana. He says that's the place to have in mind for the Matzav in Eretz Yisrael. Monday and Thursday. We have a bracha in Shemoneh Esrei. It's the middle of Shemoneh Esrei. A lot of people are sleeping there. They take a break. They take a snooze. Right, but we have a bracha where we say, V'azeidim mehirasaker, v'sishaber, v'samager, v'sachalim, v'sashpilim, v'sachniim. These are Zaydim. These Meshugoyim. These ruthless killers. V'azeidim mehirasaker, v'sishaber, v'samager, v'sachalim, v'sashpilim. We have to have kavanah when we say this. It's such a shame. We have to have kavanah when we say this. We ask in Yukum Purkin, the Yishteizvun, save us. The Yisparkum, and redeem us min kol oka, from any mishap, umikol marin bishan, anything bad that should happen. We need to have a lot of kavanah. Now, it might not be so politically correct in every arena, but in my shul, I say the tefillah for the Chayolim. I asked Reb Ruvain about it last week, Reb Ruvain Feinstein. So he said to me, I say it in my house too. He has a minion in his house. I say it in my house too. They're our brothers and sisters. How can we not say it? They're going into tunnels. They may be booby-trapped. I told people if you have a problem with it, then when I say Tzva Haganah Yisrael, you could have in mind it's for the members of Hatzalah. Hatzalah is also a Tzva Haganah Yisrael. You have a problem with Tzva Haganah Yisrael, but I have in mind both. And by the way, I've been saying this tefillah in my shul in the Agudas Yisrael of Staten Island now for over a decade. Now I brought it over to my shul in Lakewood the last 3 years, the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways Lakewood. For some people it was a little shock treatment. But I tell them, you go to Eretz Yisrael and you see a soldier, you feel safe. He's putting his life in danger. So we could be mispal for them. Next question.
Should a Jew sign a D.N.R.? After all, who wants to live like a vegetable and be a burden on their family?
D.N.R. means do not resuscitate, which means that if the heart stops, they shouldn't do heroic measures to try to start it again. Jews do not sign D.N.Rs. On a routine situation, Jews do not sign a D.N.R. We have to know that we have a different view of the value of any type of life. For example, the Mishnah Berurah says if there's an avalanche and it's a question of digging out a person on Shabbos, and the person will not have more than Chayei Shah, only moments, we're still Mechal Shabbos, even though over here you don't have the reason be Mechal one Shabbos that he should have many Shabbos. We don't have that reason. He's not going to live more than a few minutes. But the Meiri says, it's based on a Meiri. The Meiri says that in that minute that you save him, he could do tshuva, regret his sins for his entire life, and change his whole eternity. We view seconds of life as a possible entire eternity, right? We know that yesh kaina ilamai b'sha'achas. Sha'achas here doesn't mean an hour, it means one turn. A person could acquire his eternity in one turn. There's a halacha that you don't touch a geisus. I was telling somebody that my first Rebbetzin died in my hands. Truth of the matter is I wasn't allowed to touch her. She was already a geisus. But she started coughing. So to leave her, in order that to clear her passages, I picked up her head and she died. But otherwise, you're not allowed to touch a geisus. Why? Because the person's dying. But you're mamaher misasai. A moment is murder. Rav Chaim Mintz, the Manal Ruchni of the Yeshiva of Staten Island, has a fine sefer on questions and answers. And I saw in his sefer that he has this question. And he tells over a story. Interesting story. Tells over a story of a doctor who, because the person did not have quality of life, he pulled the plug. And after the man died, he started coming to him and visiting him in his dream. And he said, "Do you know what you took away from me? Do you know that the indignity that I would have suffered would have purified my soul so much more? And you took that all away from me. How could you do that to me?" And it kept on repeating himself. The dream kept on coming night after night. This doctor wasn't religious. So he went to a rabbi, a big rabbi. Rabbi Mintz doesn't say which rabbi. And the rabbi told him that it would seem that you will have to supply the deceased with a merit to make up for what you took away from him. If you would start learning Torah and mitzvahs and practice them, then it would be because of this deceased, and then he would get that merit. And that's what he did. He started putting on tefillin. He started learning about Shabbos. He started eating kosher, and the dream stopped. Now I'll tell you a story from my youth. I mean, I'm still youth, but I was more youthful. It happened about 47 years ago. So 47 years ago, I was younger, if you know arithmetic, 47 years ago, I was already a night owl. That's why they call me here to the Irgun. I'm a night owl, So I was already a night owl. There was a man that lived near the yeshiva, didn't have really that many friends, but he would come and daven in the yeshiva. The yeshiva in Staten Island is not in a Jewish community, but he lived there. With daven in the yeshiva, and he went into a coma. Didn't have much brain waves. And Reb Ruvain said that the boy should stay by his bed to relieve his wife. So, because I'm a night owl, I took what they call the midnight shift. And I was there, and around 2 o'clock in the morning, I saw that they moved the respirator from near the room in case it was needed all the way to the other end of the hall. So I asked him, does somebody else need it over there? No, the Mother Superior. At that time, this was St. Vincent's Hospital. It's not St. Vincent's anymore. It's now Staten Island University Hospital. But then it was St. Vincent's. It was a Catholic hospital. And they told me that's what the Mother Superior told them to do. So I considered this serious enough that I woke up Reb Ruvain Feinstein 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke him up, and he told me that I should go downstairs to the office of the Mother Superior and say that the dean wants the respirator moved back to the room. It happens to be, I expected I would, here I am, I think I was all of 19 years old, I expected I would get some, nurse down there, but my luck turned out to be, it was my luck, but my luck, the Mother Superior herself was there with her big cross around her neck, and I said to her, I'm sorry to bother you, I'm staying with Mr. So-and-so, and we noticed that the respirator is not close to the room. In case it's needed, we want it to be brought to the room. They said it was under your direction, so I called the dean, and the dean, Rabbi Feinstein, said it should be moved back. So she said, it's very admirable that you boys come around. It's very admirable. But, I'm very surprised at this behavior. The Jews are known as a compassionate people. You see that the wife comes, she sits by her husband, looks at him, is crying the whole day. He's being diapered by nurses. It's so embarrassing. Why would you want to prolong this unnecessarily? So I said to her, I think that you share with us a belief in the afterlife. She said, yes. I said, there's reward and punishment in the afterlife. Yes. The fact that he's being diapered is very embarrassing. That's a punishment. That's cleansing him from maybe needing to be punished in the next world, which is much worse. Who are we to take that away from him? She picked up the phone. Please move back the respirator to the room. You have to know also, signing a D.N.R. also gives a message to the hospital. The family is not interested in any, they're ready to let him go, let her go. We hold nothing of the sort. Afilu cherev chodam uneches al tzavorei shel adam al titzyoish min harachamim. Even if a sword is poised over the neck, we don't give up hope. We're not sending any such message. You have to know we're living in a world where they like clean and quick. It's misplaced mercy. There are all types of hospice. But the one hospice where they say, go to hospice, you get everything covered. We'll make comfortable everything. But under hospice, You can't give antibiotic. That's not hospice. Hospice is to make the person comfortable so that they could die. Hospice, a lot of times, is murder. It's murder. You have to know that. There's different levels of hospice, so you have to know, you have to speak to a Rav. But hospice is a lot of times murder. They will, I'll tell you a case that I just had 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, there was a family in Nova Scotia. The person that was sick gave over the decision-making to a non-Jew. Anyway, the person was on a respirator. There was a question of taking him off the respirator. And then he might be able, he would choke on his saliva. So they give him, this is the routine of the hospital, they give a medicine that dulls the reflex to feel the choking of the saliva, so that the person chokes peacefully. In other words, they murder him. They take away his ability to defend himself. They murder him. So I said, what happened is the guy felt a little guilty, and he said, well, ask your rabbi what he would say. So what happened is I said, well, they could take him off the respirator, and if he starts choking, put him back on the respirator. He said, no, that's not hospital policy. If they take him off the respirator and he starts choking, they'll give him this medicine. So I said, then you're not allowed to take him off the respirator. So the guy listened, and he died in his sleep. Baruch Hashem, they did the right thing. But you have to know that this is why people make, and it's a very good idea, people make halakhic living wills where they ensure that somebody who is capable, or somebody that will ask somebody that's capable, I always called Reb David Feinstein. Whenever I had a shayla, I called Reb David Feinstein. They would ask somebody that's capable for the right decision. So the short answer is, while there are times with certain conditions met where we don't have to do heroic messages, but generally a Jew does not sign a D.N.R. Next question.
The last generation was known as the Prozac generation, since there were so many depressed people. It is even worse today. So many people are taking tranquilizers or drugs for mood disorders. Why are so many people struggling with this problem? And how can one help themselves?
Depression. Atzvus. So first of all, you have to know, look at the Hebrew word for sadness. Etzev. It's the same letters as better. Prophet. What profit is there if my blood will go down to the pit? Will the earth thank you? When a person feels that their life doesn't amount to much, they don't feel a better, then they're going to be etzev. Then they're going to be sad. That's a big problem. People look at their lives and say, what do I have from it? My marriage is on the rocks. My kids, they don't seem to care for me. I didn't learn a lot of Torah. I made many mistakes. People get depressed. There's another reason why people get depressed. The Gemara tells us that even if a woman brings in 100 servants, the famous Gemara in Ksuvas, even if she brings in 100 servants, the husband could still make her work. Gemara gives two reasons. The first one is Baptola Mevia Lidei Zima. It leads to lewdness, immorality. And then it says Baptola Mevia Lidei Shi'amun. It leads to depression. People who are not gainfully employed with their life get depressed. There's a reason why it says Gedayla Malacha Shemechabedes Esbaila. You know, America makes us think that retirement is a golden glick. But even in America, there's a sad joke that a person retires and goes down to Florida in first class, and 3 months later he comes home in cargo. Because he couldn't take, his whole life he was active, now he's not. How much could he golf? And some people can't golf. Some people can't play pickleball. There's another reason for depression. The Bahag says it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to be happy. The samachta b'chol hatoiv asher nosan l'cha Hashem elikecha u'lebeisecha. And since it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to be happy, that means there's a yetzer hara that tries to stop it. So there's a constant yetzer hara that we shouldn't be happy. Now, of course, there are ways to be happy. One of the ways to be happy is Ein Simcha Kesimcha Satayra. Oh, Taira. Taira Hashem Tamima Mishiva Asnofesh. It restores the soul. Pikudei Hashem Yesharim Misamchei Leiv. That's why a novel can't learn Torah. Because it's simcha. There's also a great happiness in learning to appreciate what we have. A lot of people that aren't happy because they're busy with what they don't have. But if a person realizes, I can see, go a few days without seeing, to see. I have teeth. I can walk. Never forget my good friend Dr. Aiden. His father on a cruise had a stroke. And he couldn't move his hands. He was lying, and a mosquito came and was crawling on his face, and he couldn't remove it. A person could move. If a person trains themselves, Rabbi Noach Weinberg said, if you don't appreciate what you have, you're not going to appreciate what you're going to get, because you'll get used to that also. Now again, I want to quote from Rabbi Mintz. Rabbi Mintz says an interesting thing. He says that people get depressed as a punishment. Why are they feeling down? Because maybe in their life they caused other people to feel down. They said not nice things to people. And depression comes sometimes mida keneged mida. I want to add to that. It says, Chosh b'roisha yasek b'Torah. If you have feelings in your head, yasek b'Torah. If a person you're feeling down, maybe you're using your head for the wrong things. Maybe you're filling your head with the wrong things. Now, two other things. I'm not doing very good with the questions tonight. We're only up to question 5. So, and it's not Rabbi Yisroel's fault. He's asking the questions very fast. I'm just not doing a good job. I just want to say that when they went to the Chazon Ish about depression, the Chazon Ish's first question was, how do they wash their hands in the morning? Because the Mishnah Berurah says that when you wash Negelwasser, if you don't wash it correctly 3 times alternately to the wrist, it brings to depression. If you're a Talmud Chacham, you'll forget your learning, and if not, it brings to depression. You have to be careful how you wash your hands in the morning. And then it also says a big skula against depression. Everybody wants a good skula. Here's a good skula. It has nothing to do with what kind of keychain you use. You want a good skula? It says, Chamin b'matzoi Shabbos melugma. Hot. On Matzoi Shabbos is therapeutic. So the Chassidim say, it says, Mechabesh la'atzvosam. Mechabesh means to bandage those that are atzvos, those that are depressed. Mechabesh stands for Chamin b'motzoi Shabbos melugma. That's Mechabesh. Ches is Chamin. The Beis is b'motzoi. The Shin is Shabbos. And the Mem is melugma. So, Malava Malka is good against depression. Next question.
I've been thinking of switching to Cholov Yisroel. However, it's more expensive, and it will be difficult when I travel. What do you recommend? Will I have to kosher my utensils if I switch?
Okay, so Cholov Yisroel went through a change when the USDA made regulations that made it very illegal for farmers to mix in other milk into the milk that they're milking. And it's well known that Rav Moshe has a tshuva that since, because of the regulations of the U.S. government, there isn't a serious concern. There's what we call an anan sadeh, in the Gemara terminology, that there's not going to be Talmudic milk mixed into the milk. Yet in the Igros Moshe in Yeridei Chelik Beis, Rav Moshe does write that Bnei Yeshiva and Balei Nefesh should still try to use Cholov Yisroel. And today, where Cholov Yisroel is much more available, and the freshness is much more secured, there would be a very big reason to keep Cholov Yisroel. The Star K says that because of Rav Moshe's tshuva, one who switches to Cholov Yisroel does not have to kasher their kelim. They also recommend that if a person switches to Cholov Yisroel, they should do it and say they're doing it b'li neder. So, but I want to add something else. I believe that it's very important to switch to Cholov Yisroel. Of course, everybody wants to be a Baal Nefesh. Same reason why a person wants to wear woolen tzitzis. Who doesn't want to be? So the Baal Nefesh should wear woolen tzitzis. Who doesn't want to? My wife is trying to convince me that when I play ball, I should wear cotton tzitzis. I still play with woolen tzitzis. I have a lot of woolen tzitzis. I constantly change. But you see, when you have Cholov stam, to go into a CVS or Walgreens, any rest stop on the road, is very convenient. Person could have a Yoo-Hoo, they could have a Kit Kat, they could have a Milky Way, they could have Snyder's buttered pretzels, and all of a sudden these stores become places that they regularly visit. These stores shouldn't be regularly visited. It's not good for a Ben Torah to come into these stores and see on the racks all the magazines with the very immodestly clad women on it. They shouldn't be going into these stores. And then there's video things put out openly, and it's not healthy to go into it. If they could only eat Cholov Yisroel, they're not going in these stores. There's nothing in there for them. What am I stopping in there for? A bottle of water? Not very exciting, a bottle of water. A Yoo-Hoo, a Kit Kat, pretzels with a Hershey bar. Now you're talking. For that I'll pull off the road. For a bottle of water, I'll wait. It's a very big thing. It's more than that. If a person only eats Cholov Yisroel, they're not going to go on this cruise. They're not going to go to this place. What am I going to buy? You don't eat Cholov Yisroel? Yeah, there's going to be a shop right there. There's going to be a Walgreens. I'll get all the stuff there. There's good cereals, OUD cereals, and milks, and all kinds of companies. It's much more Yiddish to raise a family to have Cholov Yisroel. Next question.
My wife has ESP, Erev Shabbos psychosis. She is on the edge the whole day, and because of her tense state, nothing I do seems to be enough, and we always have a flare-up. What is a man supposed to do?
The first thing that a man has to know is that this is not something new. From the first day of creation, man sinned on the 10th hour of Shabbos. That's 2 hours before Shabbos. And from then on, the Satan was given a power to create havoc in the Jewish home before Shabbos. The Ben Ish Chai says that since Friday night is a special time between husband and wife, the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, is already trying to wreck it on Erev Shabbos. Rabbi Frand has a great rule. Rabbi Frand says a person should tell himself, this is only bothering me because of Shabbos. It's Erev Shabbos. If it wouldn't be Erev Shabbos, it wouldn't bother me. The Rush says, V'shamru b'nei Yisroel es HaShabbos. B'nei Yisroel es HaShabbos is Rosh Tevis Bia. V'shamru, a couple should anticipate B'nei Yisrael as HaShabbos, and they should guard the aura of the home. Now you have to know that Erev Shabbos, whenever there's big stakes, that's when the Yetzer Hara gets involved. Erev Shabbos is big stakes. Toameo Chaim Zoch. No, that's not buffalo wings. That's not what it means. It's not puppers. That's not what they had in mind when they made Toya Me'achayim Zachu, a smorgasbord of cholent and kishke. We're not supposed to eat so much. We're supposed to come to the Shabbos table mouth-watering. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch writes that we should give our digestive system a break once a week, and he recommends lunch Erev Shabbos. Give it a break. That we should come to the Shabbos table, not, and I'll skip the meal. I'm full from the soup. I'll skip the meal. That's not what it's supposed to be. But Toyamer Chaim Zochel means to taste the cholent. Does it need a little bit more salt? Does it need to add a potato because it has too much salt? But Chaim Zochel, it's saying in Yerushalmi, that gives life. The Shari Tshuva says that the tears, we have an onion. Shabbos stands for Shabbos Basar Teichel, Shabbos Bayim Teichel, Shabbos B'tzalim Teichel. Eat an onion. I heard from the Kruller Rebbe. The Kruller Rebbe told me that his father told him over from the Heilige Chakal Yitzchak, Zech Tzadik Kodesh Baruch Hu, Young and Aleinu, that the Chakal Yitzchak didn't eat onions the whole week. He says the onion is not just planted in the ground, but it's in the ground. It's real chumrius. It's real. He didn't eat. He said, but on Shabbos, he said, you eat onions. Why? Because he says, if a person doesn't have money, Hashem says, Lova alai vani pareya. Borrow the money, I'll pay it. So he says, that's a batzel. Batzel means batzolim. Hashem says batzel. Batzel means to pay. Hashem, I heard from the Chakal Yitzchak. Batzel. Hashem says he'll pay. My says, I make my home, I make the cholent and the soup. That's my wonderful Rebbe makes everything else. I've had onions that had 7 layers. It's like a 7-layer cake. It's another reason why we eat onions. But one of the reasons why we eat onions is because it makes us cry. Now, people do all kinds of things not to cry. They put the onion in the freezer. They do all kinds of things. But the Shari Tshuva says that when we sweat on Shabbos, Hashem considers it like tears. Isn't that amazing? Hashem considers it like tears. Erev Shabbos, there's a lot of great things. It's considered like tears when you help bathe your wife with the babies. And you sweat, it's like tears. And Toyamer Chaim Zochu. And sharpening the knife Erev Shabbos, famous. Brought down in Shulchan Aruch, sharpen the knife. It's a school of Fishalom Bayis. There's so many. So the Yetzer Hara. Now, if the husband sees there's nothing he could do, then he should get a job on Erev Shabbos. Because I'm sorry, I'm working Erev Shabbos. So it says. It says that if one antibiotic doesn't work, don't take the same antibiotic the next 5 times. Get a different doctor. If there's no eitzah, the husband says, I have nothing I could do to help. He should tell his wife, listen, I'll get a job, then we won't fight. But that's the last resort. The first resort is him to know, and he should talk with her when things are intense. It's not us. It's the special koyach, the Ben Ish Chai says, that was given to the Yetzer Hara. Next question.
It is known that the Rav sadly lost his first wife and has since remarried. Many people struggle with the unique challenges of a second marriage. Can you give some helpful advice?
I heard a husband say something very good. He doesn't call his wife his second wife. He calls her his second first wife. And that is a big yesod. I don't call my wife's children stepchildren. That has a very negative connotation. It makes them as if they're second class. I call them my new children. Skver Rebbe once told me when I got married, before I got married, when we were chassan and kala, I went to the Skver Rebbe and I asked him for advice. So he said, I'll tell you one thing. Treat your new children even better than your own children. It's not easy to do. They are your biological children. But in general, we have to treat our new spouse not like, well, this is an arrangement. And what could you do? This is life. We have to treat them now as ishtay kegufay. We have to treat them in the full way and full Ibegegebenkeit as we treated our first spouse. We should not talk about our first spouse. Not fair. Not fair. Right now you're living with this person. We know that there's such a thing as a rival, but right now she or he shouldn't have a rival. Shouldn't speak about it. There shouldn't be pictures. For sure not in the bedroom. But in general, maybe downstairs where the kids come, so they're entitled to have a picture of their mother, of their father. It's their mother, their father. But it's not right to have it where your new spouse should see it. It's not a good thing. Should never say, oh, my first spouse. It's fighting dirty. It's not fair. Person doesn't deserve it, and it's not good for the marriage. Zivik Sheni Lefi Masim. Zivik Sheni is according to what a person deserves. And they could keep on, they could make it better by deserving more. They should learn to deserve it. Not everybody gets a chance to marry again. People that go on life being alone. Rav Shlomo Bababov says there's only one place in the Torah where it says Lei Tov, and that's Lei Tov Yoisa Adam Levadai. So it's a gift to have a second spouse. And the more we treat it as a gift, the better it will be.
We are taught Uvecharta b'chayim, to choose life. We are also taught V'chai bahem, a mitzvah to live. What advice can you give to promote good health and longevity?
First of all, don't smoke. Don't vape. We'll skip the next question. I'll put it here straight out. Don't smoke marijuana. Don't become drunk, except for maybe on Purim, maybe. Depends who you are. I don't, but depends who you are. But don't abuse spirits. That's number one. Those are obvious things. Take care of your health. Don't do things to be too overweight. You don't see many old people that are overweight. Now those are physical things. Spiritual things, give tzedakah. Lots of it. Tzedakah tatzim amaves. Binyam Tzaddik was given 22 extra years because he took care of a woman and her children. Tzedakah gives life. Make sure your mezuzahs are kosher. Make sure your tefillin are kosher. Be Maver Sedra. It's the first school in Shas of Marichin Lo Yama V'Shnoisav. Spend time on Kibbut Avayim. The pashtus of the pasuk is true. Kabedes avicha v'esimecha l'man yarichun yamecha. And the Panech Raza says, it says l'man yarichun, because if you're good to them, they'll pray for you that you should live long. And their prayers are really powerful. Learn Torah. Eitz chayim hi l'machazikim ba. Oirech yamim b'yamina b'smeila yishav v'chaved. These are just some examples. Go to 14.
From your long experience as a Rav, what are some major challenges facing a married couple in today's modern world?
Time. People are not giving enough time to their marriages. You can't have a marriage without giving time. That's it. It's plain and simple. You want to have a good marriage, it's not normal to have a good marriage. Sorry. It's very natural not to have a good marriage. You're living together for a long time. You see her in the morning, and she looks like a fright. You see her in the night when she's a washed-out dish towel. She sees you the same way. It's same old, same old. It's a recipe for disaster. Marriage is not normal. Not normal. B'ritzoyis Hashem darkei ish gam oivav yashlim itay. Pasuk Mishlei. When Hashem likes the ways of man, then his enemies also make peace with him. It says, who are the enemies? It says in Medrash, a spouse. We need time. I told you a rule about marriage. The best way to get something is to give it. That's the golden rule of marriage. If you want something, then give it. Most people say, if I get it, I'll give it. No. The best way to get it is to give it. You want smile? Smile. You want warmth? Be warm. You want patience? Be patient. You want the person to be there for you? Be there for them. Make the person the most important person in your life, and they'll reciprocate. Go to the last question, because we're running out of time.
My rabbi gives good musar, but I notice that in his personal life, he doesn't walk the talk. Can I learn from such a person?
Rameir was able to learn from Acher. He was able to throw away the peel and take the fruit. For us, we look for a person that's na dairish or na mekayim. You have to understand that it's not simply that we don't want to learn from someone that's a hypocrite. The ability for us to absorb what a person says is greatly because it comes from the person's heart. Dvarim hayoitzim min halev nichnosin lelev. If they're not coming from the leiv, it's just lip service, then it's not going to penetrate and it's not going to change you. A nice rabbi just told me recently, my balabatim tell me, Just give me your number. You could go away. He said, what about the speeches? Speeches. Just give me your number if I need you. Obviously, that rabbi has not made deep impacts into the hearts of his kehillah. I have now, in Fairways, I have some of Rav Miller's balabatim. And you could see how Rav Miller changed their lives. Because it came from his heart. Divrei emes nikorim. That's the meaning. It says, me'espedoi shel adam nikorim ben olam haba. What does that mean? I've said 1,000 eulogies. I could say whatever I want. The answer is if what I say you believe, that means that I feel it. So that means it's true. If people are buying what I say, then nikir that the person is a ben olam haba. You know, it says that kol royim es hakolos. What does it mean that they saw at Har Sinai? You know, I always see a picture of musical notes flying from the sky. What does it mean, royim es hakolos? Royim es hakolos means that you have to see what's being said. And this is very true. Forget about a rabbi. This is true for a parent. If a parent wants to impact on a child, then they have to walk the talk. Parent tells his child to learn, but the parent is sitting at home and reading the paper. Not going to teach the child to learn. You know the Kotzker Rebbe. Kotzker Rebbe said, if you're always going to yell at your child, why aren't you learning? That child, when he grows up, will know how to yell at his children. Why aren't you learning? If you want your child to learn, then you got to sit down with a big Gemara and learn. That's what you got to do. V'lemadatem oisam is written defective. V'lemadatem atem, says the Chavetz Chaim. You want your children to be Mavis Seder? Then when they're young, they should fall asleep Friday night hearing you being Mavis Seder. Those children are Mavis Seder. If it's in your heart, I always say, women make out of their children, their daughters, great shoppers. Because the child sees mommy's eyes gleam, she's going to the mall. Make them great shoppers. Because it's heartsick. That's why so many people make their children love baseball. Talk about Mickey Mantle with a gleam in their eye. Opening day. Child sees that. Child sees that. I want to conclude. So I want to thank my dear Talmud Rabbi Fisher for coming and doing this. All of you, Irgun Shiurei Torah. I want to conclude with one thing. We talked about, well, what can we do about the matzav in Eretz Yisrael? I have one closing piece of advice. You want to do something? Don't waste time trying to find out who's going to be the Democratic nominee. Don't waste time, and if it's going to be Kamala, don't waste time figuring out who's going to be her running mate. And don't waste time on how Trump is going to deal with the person and what he's going to do. Dedicate that time to learn Navi, to learn Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. It's all a waste of time. I asked somebody, he was a big news guy, said, how much time did you spend on the sordid news about Clinton and Monica Lewinsky? How much time? How much Olam Haba you think you're going to get for that? But not only that, even when we were going through the time of the Iranian hostages and people were glued to find out about it, did it make a difference? Does it make a difference that Biden this and Biden that? And what does Trump say about Biden? It's all pilpula shel hevel. It's a waste of time. Instead of doing that, get yourself your favorite sefer on Chumash and learn it. And dedicate the time that you would have dedicated to Reb Trump to the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. That's a wonderful thing you could do. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Have an easy fast and a wonderful summer. Chananya ben Akash.
Shame Irgun Shiurei Torah Moshe Bossam. I want to give a big yashar koach to Rabbi Weiss for an inspiring drasha. We have to give a big yashar koach to all the sponsors of tonight's shir. Rabbi says, as you heard from Rabbi Bold in the beginning, Irgun Shiurei Torah is joining with the Karen Olam HaTorah to Mishtataf and Saran Shel Yisroel and help the B'nai Torah and Avreichim and Eretz Yisrael who don't have bread to eat. They don't even have the food stamps like we have here. They take the few $100s that they were getting, they're cutting. There was a huge campaign going on. There's brochures spread around the shul with a link or a phone number to call to help and have a chelik in the Limud Torah of the B'nai Eretz Yisrael. To have the great schus of joining in that mitzvah, you can use the link or you can call 732-686-6100. Option 2, and then extension 992-915. Extension 992-915. That's great. Schus of the Abotzes HaTorah of Irgun Shiurei Torah. The remaining weeks of the summer, call and sponsor a shir. Call Irgun Shiurei Torah 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Ashikash Baruch for coming. Chananya ben Akash Shem Rotzakadosh Baruch Hu Lezakis Es Yisrael Figi Hibelim Torah Mitzvos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.